Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Rock Creek Coffee Roasters, home of small batch, freshly roasted coffee. Our guest today on the Outdoor Adventure Series is Jeff Potter. Jeff is a world traveler, a former aviation executive, and at present he is the founder and CEO of Manifest. Manifest is pioneering a new way to vacation via a lifestyle and travel club model that delivers custom crafted getaways to iconic domestic and international destinations. Jeff, it is a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast.
Hi, Howard. My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Well, when I hear about world travel and destinations and getaways and experiences, this idea of just sitting back and relaxing, getting away from work and just unplugging the electronic devices and just taking in the experience, it just floats right into my head. I'm thinking, what a fantastic career. And I am excited to learn about this journey you've been on. And so, again, thank you for joining today. And I shout out to Richard Bangs, my friend from the Outdoor Writers Association of America. He was gracious enough to make that introduction for us. So I would love, Jeff, just if you could share a little bit about your background, and then love to get more into this work that you're doing through Manifest.
Well, great. Again, Howard, it's great to be with you. Yeah, I've been very fortunate in my career in the sense that I like most of us when we're younger, we're not quite sure truly what we want to do in life. And so circumstances, luck, typically good luck, some hard work, really has taken me down a path that, lack of better terms, is really the American dream. In college, I joined the Marine PLC program for a variety of reasons. It ended up being short-lived, and then I was kind of lost. And so I had the opportunity to get in the airline business at the entry level. I was an aircraft cleaner, and it was something that I took away a couple things. One, as a darn good aircraft cleaner, I was raised as being the best at what you do and give it your all. And part of that, just over the next 20, 30 years, I just gradually grew in responsibility and in the airline business, and ended up becoming the CEO for Frontier Airlines during a really tough period for the airlines, but was very fortunate to actually grow with the company. When I arrived, we had 5 airplanes, and when I departed, we had just under 70. So
Well,
it was just truly a great experience. And then I got that bug. So that was kind of this aspect, this very commodity aspect. I think when people fly, even if we're flying business first economy, it's obviously still very price sensitive, and was then, and I think will always be.
mhm.
And I had an opportunity to get in the hospitality business, and which was very high end, high touch, not a commodity, all service oriented, and ran a company called Exclusive Resorts, which was my first taste of that worldwide travel. And I think another thing unique as I stepped into that, um, most of my world travel, again, very fortunate, has been some way associated with the roles I had in my career. So I was very fortunate and have, as a result, seen a lot of different parts of the globe, and those aha moments or those bucket list moments. But I think importantly, and one of the foundations for Manifest, is I also believe that a lot of those aha moments are within 2, 3 hours of where we live. We're fortunate to live in this beautiful country, and so much of it is undiscovered. And we initially focused all of our attention on what those domestic travel sites experiences were that we knew people would enjoy. and they just didn't really focus on it. When we focus on those big moments in travel and unique moments, I think it's safe to say that most of us, including myself, tend to gravitate towards something international. It's got to
Mhm.
be international. It's got to be a different company to immerse ourselves in that culture. And there's immersion opportunities in our own culture that are really close to home.
I love that. And as you were describing that scenario, I was thinking about in a prior life, I was an IT consultant or on the business side of IT. And I
Yeah.
used to come out to San Diego quite a bit and Arizona. And I remember flying what I now know is Lake Mead, Lake Powell, coming down that path and seeing this small little airport right along the water there. And I'm thinking, I would love to fly into that airport and visit that little town right by the water. I think, how cool would that be?
I can't believe I'm hearing that from you because I've never heard it from anybody. And the reason it's so interesting to me is that's what I do. So I've run a couple airlines, I've run a couple other aviation companies, and I can't tell you how many times, and we might be flying over the Midwest, and I'll see a town and I wonder what's going on there. I wonder what it makes it hit. I wonder all these green circles where people are farming. It's just Lake Powell and the Grand Canyon. Yeah, you sit there and you go, I just want to be there. And yeah, sometimes you have to be in the air to get there. I can drive sometimes. We do have in this country a very, very unique opportunity to travel not too far and find some really incredible experiences.
Very good. Now, I'm curious about your model at Manifest and one thing it's coming to mind is traveling by airplane is not the same today as it was when you first started out, when you had your 7 planes, or maybe even when you
That's right.
left and you had exponential growth in your equipment. Today, it's harder. I mean, we got flip-flops and shorts, and people don't care about what this experience is like. And so in some ways, either it's the FAA, and we're not gonna go down that route, by the way. The
Right.
FAA or the airlines, they don't make it TSA, it's not made easy for us to travel. There's so many things we have
True.
to be aware of. And you as an executive, a former executive, and realize the airlines, they have to do certain things. And these 2 paths are they're missing each other, okay? Has it changed that much in this adventure and really looking forward to the travel today than what it was like when, you were growing up and having those experiences being on at Frontier or on airplane journeys?
It's yeah, it was yes, it's changed dramatically. And even during my tenure, which has been a few years now, but post 9/11, the world changed in so many ways and truly affected, for the reasons we are all aware, the airline industry and then the pandemic. And so as we as a country, as an industry in the aviation industry, try to meet the regulations that came about because of that increased safety and security, which everybody wants. Um, some people find it intrusive. Some people found masks intrusive. So you're dealing with on an airplane, as an example, you're not dealing with a group of 150 people. You're dealing with 150 different personalities, different expectations, and you put them in this metal tube. And I've often said on board that airplane, the flight attendants interacting with those customers is one of the most challenging jobs I could ever imagine. And even during my tenure, we used to tell the flight attendants, you're lack of better terms, you're not allowed to have a bad day because
Right.
we're going to have irregular operations. You're going to have to save the company. You're going to have to bore people over. It's really a challenging job, along with the pilots and the customer service folks. But what happened, not only was additional regulations, is out of the pandemic, We saw the airlines, even though they got this additional funding, which I fully supported, new people weren't going to fly for a couple of years. So they offered early retirements and they grounded aircraft. And now find ourselves in a situation where there's a pilot shortage, which in turn creates a shortage of capacity or available seats. So you've got even more cramped airplanes, cramped airports, people. And it's a challenge for the airlines. And from to your point, from a consumer's perspective, no one gets up in the morning and they're going off to Italy and going, I can't wait to get to the airport. I can't wait to walk through the airport. I can't wait to get on an airplane. They want to, and I'm no different. We just want to block that out. And we view that part of getting there and getting back as, at least in my mind, we deal with it like Murphy's Law. If something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen. So I just need to be mentally prepared for that. And just knowing at the end of this, getting from A to B, B represents relaxation. B represents where I really want to be. And, but knowing there's going to be likely some challenges.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note,
Oh,
then here we have manifest, and I want to circle back to how we just ended this piece of the conversation. How did manifest come about for you? What was your aha moment for this?
yeah. Yeah. My aha moment was a couple data points. And the first I'm going to describe to you was hard for me to believe because my family, my wife and I don't fit in that category. And that is close to 70% of travelers in this country don't like to plan their vacation. They might want to say, I want to do something Civil War history. I want to go to Gettysburg. That's all they want. They want someone to plan it out for them, do daily agendas, itineraries. Um, my wife is a great planner, so we don't do that. So it was counterintuitive to me, but it's a big number. And so when I left Frontier and got in the hospitality business, there were a couple key things that occurred there. One, that while Exclusive Resorts is a great company, at the time we owned 400 very high level, high priced, beautiful homes around the world. And we had members, only members could enjoy those homes. So I became very familiar with a membership club model, the benefits from a business model standpoint of recurring revenue, subscription revenue, but also the piece that's very hard to quantify of traveling with like-minded people. So the social element of that club concept is hard to quantify, but it's valuable and it's significant. And what we focused on at Exclusive Resorts from the member standpoint were typically international trips, week, 10-day trips. But at the time, members were also telling us they wanted optionality. So, yeah, we want to do that 2 week, 1 week trip with family, but we want to know that we can head out on a weekend for 3 or 4 days, which means it's close to home, and do something there. Well, Exclusive Resorts wasn't really built for that element.
Mhm.
So it just kind of percolated in my mind. There's a lot of great companies out there that do 3, 4 day getaways, adventure trips. So there's a lot of good players out there. But what this did over time, I was with a couple other companies that were in the club concept. So that element of what we do at Manifest began to grow. And I'm just a big believer in that. And then got to a point where there's a niche out there, but it's got to be inclusive of the entire trip. So when we
Mhm.
talk about someone wants to do the itinerary for us, they want us, they want help to get us there and get back. Well, so we knew early on that for all the reasons we described, commercial aviation wasn't really a viable option. We're going to do a 3, 4 day getaway. We can't spend a day getting there, stuck in an airport, connecting in an airport, waiting for bags. A 3, 4 day getaway ends up being a 1 to 2 day getaway.
Right.
And so we started aligning ourselves and working with private aviation companies. And this is all pre-pandemic thinking. And so we touched base and we had conversations with 149 different companies, and knowing that we would have to work with them from getting members. So the value proposition at that time, pre-pandemic, was travel in small groups, 6 to 8 people, travel private aircraft, private terminals, close to home, 2 hours, and like-minded people. And it was a value proposition that was written for all the congestion we talk about, even everything that happened to travel as a result of the pandemic. We thought, again, it was done much further out prior to the pandemic than during the pandemic. But so that was the initial response, that niche. We knew we weren't going to be for everybody. We are for the luxe traveler. So we knew there were folks that couldn't afford it. Thankfully, there's a lot of great companies out there that fill that gap on a income basis much better than we could have done anyways. And so that was the gist of our value proposition. Great. Excuse me, I got to take a quick drink.
Sure.
Tickle. So we knew we couldn't be everything for everybody. So we focus on this luxe sector. We're not the very high end. We're not in the very low end. We're kind of in the upper 2/3. And so that was really the idea. Now, we haven't had to pivot, but with that said, through the pandemic, private aviation's cost has basically doubled. And so that means we were talking to an entirely different market than we anticipated, much higher end than where we had targeted ourselves. And so about a year ago, 9 months, 12 months ago, we made the decision that we would just kind of separate our offerings. So we still do the experiences. We still offer private aviation, but we also can offer to get you there through business and first class fares, where we have some advantages that others don't, or Howard can get there himself. So we bifurcated the offering, and the benefit of that was we could offer international.
Mhm.
So that's worked out very well. I believe private aviation costs well, they're already coming down.
Mhm.
I believe over the next 12, 18 months, they'll come back, not normal pre-pandemic levels, but close.
When you s- talk about high net worth individuals, without getting specific to a company and the role they play, whether they're a CEO, et cetera, an entrepreneur, et cetera, what does that unit of customer look like? I mean, is it partners? Is it the family? Is it an extended family? What is that ideal customer
That's
look
great,
like?
great question. I think it's fairly broad, but you brought up a great point. We do offer some family getaways. I would tell you it's a unique market if they're all flying private. That actually takes us into a band of more the ultra high net worth individuals, I would say.
Mhm.
So my initial focus was more adult focused, but it included couples, it included guys, it included solo travelers. So that like-minded piece of what we profess or what I talk about was really critical, is really critical. And so by virtue of people joining Manifest and the trips they select, those are two kind of artificial filters that say, I wouldn't be on this trip if I wasn't interested. So I obviously have something in common with this other person.
Hmm.
But the focus was more on adult travel. We definitely have trips out there, experiences out there that would be great for families. So on our site, we talk about there's some things we do that might be a partner requirement, that there are no kids under the age of 12 or something like that. But again, the initial focus was really on the active adult.
Okay.
And by the way, to another part of your question, we talk about high net worth individuals. There's a lot of different descriptions out there. We kind of look at, because we have a very low membership entry.
Hmm.
And so we kind of look at that 250 to $300,000 a year household income.
Hmm.
Could be a joint income or single income. And so that takes us from very young entrepreneurs and then folks my age that are just looking for a quiet, maybe a quiet getaway, but spend it with other folks that have the same interests.
Okay. So I know I had mentioned early on prior to the interview, I don't try to put my guest on the spot. And look, you used to be the CEO of Frontier Airlines. You could handle this. Well, I think I'm here in Las Vegas, and I'm on your site today doing my homework to prepare. And I see this wonderful vacation. I think it was in Croatia
Mm-hmm.
with the water. It was a 2 week getaway, and then you got a private cruise. Walk our listeners through the steps of how do I get to Croatia? What are the things I need to accomplish by working with you to get to that destination?
So you would join, and we would immediately have a member services manager work with you. The starting point is actually what you saw with Croatia. We spent a lot of time trying to meet the needs or what we think either ourselves or through partners on site that this, if you're coming to Croatia, this is what you need to do. With that said, Howard Fox may say, I like that, but could I do this, this, and this? And our answer is yes. So we'll work through that. Then we will, in terms of getting you there and getting you back, we handle, we'll handle all of that. As I said about a year ago, we separate. We prefer to handle all of it.
Mhm.
And even in the case of now, when we talk about international, we really aren't talking about private charter. We're talking about first and business class airline. We still want it to be a higher end, so to speak, type trip.
Mhm.
And so we work through how we're going to get you there. We do the hand holding of, is there, especially as of late, is there anything, any special health requirements, requirements from Croatia about a visa, about having being vaccinated, those types of things. We just do soup to nuts. In fact, we'll arrange private car service to and from, whether it be a private charter or the airport. We What we want to do is just completely flush it out. Now, truth be told, and importantly, we want it to be, we don't want, it's like anything else, just no bad surprises. We don't want Howard to arrive in Croatia and say, well, this is not what I expected. We will do and use all efforts to ensure your expectations, the old cliche, are not only met but exceeded. And, maybe it's my time in the airlines because that bar of expectations was so low. But I think here they're very, very high. And so we've just got an experienced team, whether it be aviation, whether it be developing these experiences, technology, even. So we're kind of a hybrid company, but that all comes together and helps us talk to you I do believe, by the way, so you can actually book all this online.
Mhm.
My belief and my experience is we expect and we hope to, we'll probably even reach out to you that no one's going to do this. No one's going to hit a button on a computer and say, I'm on my way. This type of travel, this type of member, and the type of company we are actually promotes that one on one engagement.
Okay. Well,
Walk out.
that's very much a high touch, so to speak, experience. I mean, it's how you are making, how your team is making me feel throughout
Right.
this entire adventure. When it's an initial idea to the
Right.
ultimate execution and return. Speaking of your team, what is and you spoke a little bit about the roles, but give me, if you could, just to kind of a high level view of what does your team look like? I mean, who are they? Where
We're
are
a,
they?
we're a very small team. We on the technology side, we're led by a gentleman named Kelly Tompkins, who's very well known in the travel space. He has founded a couple travel technology companies. And so we have some unique offerings, as I've described. So we keep him on his toes, enhancing that platform. And we're very careful because it's interesting about the technology side of what we do. When you look back at all the travel technology companies out there, even pre-pandemic, you're going to find out there were a lot of casualties.
Mhm.
And the reason is companies sometimes, it's not only technology, sometimes companies forget that what consumers, or in our case, members are willing to pay for is very different than what they want. And so we manage that very closely. And Kelly's just got 30 years of experience, not only true technology, but understanding the travel space. We have young lady, Melissa Hanson, who is our chief experience officer, came out of Exclusive Resorts. She and I worked together there. She designed a lot of those international trips that we started and ended up running a safari company. And so she's been with us for just over a year. So she leads that. She's got 3 people that support her in that function. Our sales guy and member service heads up our sales. Exclusive Resorts, hospitality, Inspirato, hospitality, Rothschild Safaris, hospitality, worldwide traveler himself, and just has all the experience. He's a young guy, and yet he's got that most important element about him, which has been there, done that. So
Right.
when you talk about Asia, when you talk about South America, when you talk about some off the beaten paths, even US, it's kind of like my first question is, like, Cam, have you been there? And it's not too often he says, no, I haven't, or doesn't have some exposure. Our head of also came out of Inspirato, but also worked for IntraWest for years. Actually, kind of out of his marketing world, was an on-site developer for properties in Costa Rica. And he also worked for a destination club called Equity Estates. Our marketing is has to be very, very different than mass marketing. We're not marketing to the mass. We're not talking to everybody. We know that. So we have to be very specific in our messaging, very specific how we get that message to folks. A lot of it to date has been ultimately for us to be a success. This has to become a referral network.
Right.
People as members talk to other members. And I love that because it's basically pay for performance. If we're not doing what we say we're doing, we shouldn't get here. We have no
Sure.
business doing what we're doing. And then we have gentleman Dan Cohn, who, like myself, came out of the airline business, but he's been exposed to private aviation. He was a consultant for quite a long time in the aviation world. So we've got that balance, not only have that balance of experience, there's a lot of overlap. So no one, I think, bears a burden of feeling like all the weight of the company is on their shoulders. Even I don't. And typically CEOs would tell you that they do. And I don't. I've just got a great group of people operate very well together, very collaborative, and just that engine works better when a group of people as opposed to one person.
I love that. And as a business coach, leadership coach, I mean, the mark of a true leader is you bring in the right people, and you have high expectations, but you also have to trust and ensure that the folks you bring on know how to do their work and how to run.
I'll say it. Yeah, you and I agree, and I'll say it a different way. How there is not one person on this team that has a problem with telling me no, or "Well, I don't think that's a good idea. Why don't we do this?" Not one.
Okay. So I'm another question, and if this is confidential, just go ahead and say, Howard, it's confidential. Where are the hot spots now? Hot spots being good, where people want an experience that you're starting to perhaps build up your pipeline of taking people.
Yeah, yeah. Some of these may not surprise you, but Italy's really coming back. Portugal, that I'm sure that you have found. Portugal's the interesting place where people are working remote.
Yeah.
People are going there on vacation. People are moving there.
Yeah.
So that's been real interesting for us. Iceland has been very interesting for us. We are working on a couple trips to Norway, which is a little interesting because of the world dynamics going on right now in Ukraine. But what I see in general, oh, by the way, we've had a couple trips down to South America recently. The thing that I find interesting is more from a broad base is we talked about pent up demand for a good year or so now.
Mhm.
I believe there was actually a segment was pent up interest. In other words, people first started shopping again. If they hadn't already made their plans, or if they already or had their plans been in 2021, which got rescheduled to last year and this year and maybe even next year, that it's now true demand. There are a lot of shoppers, a lot of people looking for deals, but I think more importantly, the mindset has changed. I think they're looking for that hand holding, that advice, um, trust.
Mhm.
And we're a young company. We've got great experience. We've all done it. Longevity in business sometimes is translated, rightfully or wrongfully so, into trust. And so we understand that some of our competition has been around for a while. And but we take that on. The other part that I find interesting is I happen to want I've been there years ago, but Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, that's really starting to pick up again. And we're trying to catch up in that arena, actually.
Very cool. One of my I don't want to say the word fantasy. Okay, I just said it. However, what I do as a coach, I do it online, and I can do it as long as I have an internet connection anywhere in the world.
Mm.
Podcasting, I could literally have been in Portugal. I have a friend that just moved to Portugal. The Portuguese, I think, are not as happy because all of
Yeah,
the
right, right.
expats coming in, but she's has a vibrant coaching career, and she's living in this beautiful seaside resort area, which I think is just phenomenal because given where we are technology wise, many of us can be anywhere in the world doing their work. So I love that. I mean, some of those destinations, it's like I
Yeah.
can see myself there.
Well, I would really like as a company to tap into that. We've been talking internally a lot about, and there's this trend of getting folks back into the office. And I have to tell you, this has been challenging for me.
Mhm,
I have to have that human interaction, both for more positive reinforcement, energy, ideas.
mhm.
Zoom doesn't quite get us there.
Yeah.
But with that said, I'm like anybody else. I like saving an hour drive each way or
Mhm.
45 minutes drive each way. And so that's okay. And to your point, I working remote somewhere is kind of attractive.
Yeah.
And this has been a big learning for me. And so I would love as a company to kind of tap into that more for us talking to other corporations where, I know you've heard the term bleisure, where people are combining those business and leisure trips.
That's
It's
me.
like just extending that.
Yeah.
It is a business, and then weekends help them find those things to do.
Yeah. But it's funny, the f the shot behind me is Gulf Shores in Orange Beach and, down in the Alabama, the coast down there. And when I travel, and I've just have done this year after year, is all of my leisure travel is tied to business. If it's a coaching conference, it's a outdoor writers conference, and I have had to learn the hard way is I would take a couple days before and take a couple days after, because if not, I'm going to be a frustrated traveler. If I just went to this beautiful place, spent this money, and I didn't see a darn thing.
Yeah.
I love it. Your website is beautiful. A lot of great imagery, and it's definitely welcoming. You've got the experiences people can research. You've got some nice blogs people can listen to. What are your clients that are sharing with you? What are they saying about this experience that they've just been on through working with Manifest?
There's a couple different things that we've heard, and it's one of our challenges in the company. We started out, admittedly, I was so focused on that 70% that don't like to plan that if we were doing 3, 4 day getaways, let's get them an itinerary and we want to cram as much as we can in 3 or 4 days.
Mm.
So early on, we heard, nah, don't do that. We want you to plan, but we want downtime. We want some options. On the flip side, some of the other trips, one of the, before Machu Picchu closed, I understand it's reopened. We did a father son trip down there, and it was pretty well laid out, and they both loved it. So that's perfect. So our process, and those are the two key findings. We're pretty good at finding unique, but we have to balance ourselves. And I think this is where it's a simple question in that conversation. You'll see some of our itineraries online might be kind of tight. You'll see others that are looser. And I think if any of your listeners or any of our clients inbound, that's got to be more part of the conversation we have with them than it has in the past. So, kind of a mini aha moment for us. I wouldn't say it's kind of like, at least in my case, I went, duh, why did I think of that? And I was the one that said, we want immersion. Now we do sporting trips, so we have a great golf partnership. And so we do golf. Now, golfing's different. When they go for a 3 day trip, they want to play 2 rounds in a round and come home.
Mhm.
And any free time is usually at the club or at the hotel, and that's it. And we get it.
Good, good. Given your experience with the airline and the exclusive resorts and now Manifest, you have seen the evolution of airline travel experiences, and now the delivery of these very unique experiences to destinations worldwide. Where do you see your industry, this adventure travel, uh, high end, wanting to see the kind of have experiences? Where do you see this industry changing in the next, I don't know, it reminds me of I used to have my evaluations with an old IT company. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? But do you have a kind of a vision out 5, 10 years where things are going?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be earth shaking in any way, but I do believe what we've stepped into is whether it's 3, 4 day getaways, whether it's a week, whether it's 2 weeks, somewhere, somehow, those aha moments, those bucket list elements of a trip. It might not be the complete trip, but that is going to become greater and greater part of what we do. And I think what we're doing is following those trends. And I don't know if it's linear, but I think it's going to continue. Expertise. I happen to be a big fan of when people go somewhere, whether it's domestic or international, that cultural immersion, having dinner at somebody's house. Those are harder things to plan out. But I think the education of what we do in travel, yeah. Now, some people want to go to Cabo and sit on the beach and drink. I think that's great. That's what they do. But I think where we're positioning ourselves is riding that wave that sees this constant evolution and growth and people wanting to immerse themselves or want something very unique that the perfect trip for us to develop is something that nobody else, they may go to the same destination. That's not what people are looking for. They're looking for what comes within that destination. What experience
Right.
are they going to feel and be part of?
I love that. I love that. And this is a really good segue as we kind of come down to the tail end of this interview. Is speaking of the aha moment, and I love that term, and I love the fact that that plus the word experience, you've used that numerous times throughout our conversation today, and those are two words very important in the work that I do. And I am curious, given this experience in the travel industry and aviation, and now these experiences, what has been your personal aha moment as you look back and you think about the work that you've done and the impact that you and the people that you're surrounded with are having?
Yeah, I think a little different than what you and I talked about earlier, but I really think there are a couple things that stick in my mind. I don't know if it's cliche, but I love the comment, time is a commodity. And because that encompasses so much. And so the aha moment I had was really, I mean, I live in Colorado. I haven't been to Urea. I haven't been to Mesa Verde. I I'm I'm not an expert by any means, but I've got bookshelves here and here of Native American history. I just find it so intriguing. And yet, not too far away from me are just these incredible sights and just getting that feeling. But so the first aha moment was those types of experiences are close to us.
Mhm.
Um, that's one. The other aha moment I have now is the growing importance of travel. You've heard different quotes about travel that if you don't travel and it were a book, you'd still be stuck on the same page.
Mhm.
And things like that, that it enhances your life in so many ways. And the way and human nature, we find our way through a lot of things in this world, and we will. But at the same time, there's a lot of crises out there. There's a lot of stress, and there's stress in politics. There's stress in going to an airport. There's this stress of could be economic stress. It just personal economic stress. And travel has a way, an amazing way, aha way of kind of just setting that aside, even if it's for a period of a week, 2 weeks. It's pretty re-energizing and it makes you a better person, I think. And it certainly does enhance, in my case, not only my energy, but that not to be out there, but that love of life and love of what else is out there and just
Sure.
want to seek more.
I love it. I love it. And I can totally appreciate what you have shared and gifted us. And not to, I could go on a huge tangent about travel, the the morning, the evening, and just the experience of being somewhere and not having anything on my agenda, but just being there in the moment.
Yep.
Preferably with a good cup of coffee in the morning or a
There you
nice
go.
bottle of wine in the afternoon. I love that. One last item before we head out today,
Oh,
Jeff, is what would you like to share with our listeners? Could be a quote, could be maybe an article you read or something that you'd like to share with them as really kind of a token of your experience, the work that you've done, and something that they can take away and say, that's a good piece of insight.
yeah. I don't know how insightful this is, Howard, but I read a lot. I read about a lot of places and think through whether I want to be there or not, how I would go, what I would do. So for me, I'm just in a great spot because what I get to do is almost a hobby. So I work real hard, but at night when I read, I'm reading something really cool about really neat place. And is there something that we can pass along and develop for folks that want to join Manifest? But one of my favorite quotes is the one no one realizes how beautiful it is to travel until he comes home and rests his head on his old familiar pillow. And that's a different way of saying instead of buying material items, buy experiences and build memories, you
Yeah,
know,
have sweet dreams. Hello. I love
sweet.
it.
Yeah.
Love it. Jeff, before we head out, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and the work at Manifest, where's the best places for them to go?
I think for us at Manifest, it's manifestescapes.com.
Okay.
And for me, the contact information is on the site, but I'm on LinkedIn and would love to hear anybody. One of the things we love to hear is, yeah, I get what you're doing. Have you ever thought about doing X, Y, and Z? And we typically hear great ideas, great thoughts. So would love for people to reach out to us, contact us.
Fantastic. Well, we will provide the backlinks on our show notes to manifestescapes.com. Your LinkedIn profile will have that link as well as I know you're also Manifest has the social sites,
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. We'll provide those backlinks. Jeff, I really appreciate you taking the time and gifting us with this great conversation. I think the best part about podcasting for me is I get to hear so many journeys.
Well,
And that is just the wonderful aspect of having these interviews is hearing about their experiences
well,
and
well, I
wonderful.
understand. I just got done telling you I have a great job, but I'm a little jealous of yours because I think you and I are a lot alike. Howard, we like to have these conversations and you always, hopefully you learn something and hear something that's of interest. And I certainly did. So I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. Listen, stay in the line. We're going to do a very quick close and you and I can have a final chat. Okay.
Like,
All right. All right, folks. We have just been chatting with Jeff Potter. He is a world traveler, former airline executive of CEO of Frontier Airlines. And now he is the founder and CEO of Manifest. And what a wonderful story. I mean, just think about this idea of experiences, global experiences, or perhaps even experiences that are local that you through Manifest can have curated and just go off and enjoy. And it's a great way to unwind and take the pressure off you having to make all the planning because you can do it through Manifest and Jeff's wonderful team who's out there. They've got the experience and can certainly support you whatever your dream adventure is. So do check them out on their website at manifestescapes.com. And they're on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll provide backlinks there and on LinkedIn. And we'll also have a link to Jeff's LinkedIn profile so you can connect with him as well. As for us, you can find us on outdooradventureseries.com. We are also on Facebook and on LinkedIn, the Outdoor Adventure Series pages. And you can find us on YouTube. We have our Get to Know You segments up there on our Outdoor Adventure Series page on YouTube. And you can find us on all of the major podcasting directories. just by searching Outdoor Adventure Series. And we'll have a link to all of the directories on our show notes as well. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. Hey, go plan an adventure, okay? Doesn't matter if it's a day, 2 days, 3 days. If you can swing a week, a month, go for it. But have fun, enjoy yourself, have a good cup of coffee in the morning and a nice adult beverage or your beverage of choice in the evening, but have some fun. And we will see you on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.